as how he's involving the young people into the affairs of their lives in terms of political world, social life, culture, and the things happening around them. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with our guests for today. So, as I had told you that today we are with a guest here, and I'll let him introduce himself to us. So welcome, Okoth. So first of all, I'd want you to give us a brief history about yourself, where you grew up, and then we'll come into our main topic of the day.
Great. My name is Opondo Okoth. Yes, as you've said, I'm proud Kenyan, proudly African, proudly black. Okay. And I was born and grew up in Kibra, home county Siaya County, a place called Ugenya. Very interesting that we also have to know a bit the different places we come from. My background is law, and I'm also really interested in community affairs. And that actually has led me to where I am today, and even probably to the discussion that we're having today.
Okay. Yeah. So how did you come up into, I understand now you're into debating, and you formed an organization where you're involving the young people in discussing matters that affect them in their everyday life. So how did that come about?
I think all this dates back to 2007, 2008. I was such a young boy, just joining, I think in Form 1, just joining high school. And it's the first time that I saw what it really means to be in Kenya. 2007, for anyone who was alive and is watching, and for those who are not alive and while watching, I think this is a very good lesson, a big lesson to you. The country found itself in some kind of mayhem after the election, which was highly contested between President Mwai Kibaki and the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. Because people could not agree, it led us where we found ourselves. A number of people died, and so many people were displaced. And just taking it back to where I grew up, yeah. So I saw something that I told myself: if people could sit down on a table and talk and agree, that, you know what, yes, I may not agree with your choices, I may not agree with your lifestyle, I may not agree with what you believe in, but we're all human beings. And I felt the best thing to do was having a platform where people can feel safe to talk, where people can feel it is okay, we can agree to disagree and let life move on without carrying machetes, without carrying pangas, without forcing people out of their businesses and forcing people out of their houses. And I do say, if this platform that we started, a debating platform that now allows young people to look at the bigger national issues and discuss at their level, so that even as they grow up knowing that it is right for people to believe in whatever they want to believe in, the political affiliations. It is right for people to worship differently. It is right for people to, enjoy their different lifestyles without tampering with each other's lifestyle and without tampering with each other's space. And I think to me that was, it was really important that we create a debating platform, which started as something we call Young Debater Society. But today we've slowly moved into a company called Camp-D Voices, which now brings the different voices of young people who love debating, those who love doing mentorship to each other, and even those who love just using creative arts as a tool of creating the social change that we are all aiming for.
So you had mentioned to me that you started in Kibra, and because it was the heart where the post-election violence began and all that. So I'm beginning to think that these were people who also wanted to involve themselves, the young people, that they also wanted to involve themselves in such discussions. Did you have other like-minded people around you who would support you and, get even other people around and bring them to this conversation? Because to our understanding, we know that Kibra is large, and probably the dissemination of information and involving quite a large community, it requires a force and, people collaborating. So how did you go about that?
Yeah, so from my side, I do believe that if you want to do something, stop talking about it, and instead show people what you want to do. And I'm also a firm believer in Kiswahili saying that mcheza kwao hutuzwa. So when I cleared high school, I think the first thing that I did was visiting one of the local schools where I studied, called Nazarene Primary School. And I requested the teachers to allow me be training on public speaking and debating as maybe just something that I could just be doing free time, waiting to join the campus. So when they allowed me to do that, I started shaping the students, especially those who love doing public speaking, debating, shaping their rhetorical skills. And as this one grew, several other schools now started getting interested, especially the schools that could meet them and debate them. Those started getting interested, and it moved now from interest, now moved from primary school to high school level. And where the team started growing, were now those in high school that I was meeting at that time. Those who were clearing high school at that time started asking, okay, how can we join you? Can we join the program? And I said, okay, yes, let's go ahead. Let's join the program. And then now we could join. Now they could join me later to be even officials in this program. To date, those formed the first bunch of leaders in the program. And that is even how it has grown today. We are not just in Kibra. Yes, it started in Kibra. Today we've expanded to the rest of Nairobi, different schools in Nairobi. We have partnership with schools like Pangani Girls that allow us to host annual debates in their school. The second Saturday of May, we have partnership with schools like Alliance High School that also do debates with them in the middle of the month of March. We have, I think, a partnership with about 90-something schools that allow us to host our programs in their schools. But so far we've reached over 750 high schools that are still going.
So what, I'm sure you've seen the progress and the change that happens when you involve, when the young people are debating. What are some of the things you've picked out, some of the things you could be assuming about the young people that they don't know? Or probably, what are some of the things you've picked out from these young people when they're debating, when they're discussing about issues happening in their lives, in the political scenes, around their surroundings? What have you picked from them, and what have you seen?
I like that question, because for a long time people do say that we are raising a very fake generation. They call them all manner of names, the microwave generation. They say these are people not interested. They are people who do not know. But let me tell you, if you sit down today with high schoolers of Kenya, and even the primary school, these kids know a lot. These students know a lot of things because they read news, they watch news, they read newspapers, they read different blog posts. They're in social media. They see everything that is happening. Whether it is BBI, they know. They even have speculation on what is likely to be. They know what is happening right now with the coronavirus. And these are where the debating motions come from. So one thing that I've learned, that they want to own their narrative. They want to own their own stories. They want to tell their own stories, because one of the reasons why also as a country things are not really moving at the pace at which we want them to move is that we are still allowing our stories to be told by other people. We still depend on foreigners to come and tell us, this is why young girls are getting pregnant at an early age. This is why young boys are in crime. These are why young boys are in drugs. But we never come to these young boys themselves and ask them, possibly, why are you doing this? Through debates, we are able to do that because we allow them to do research, then come to present their opinions. And whenever they present these opinions, we challenge the government officials that sometimes even get the opportunity of attending these debates to come listen to these people, so that when you are even coming up with your manifestos, when you are thinking of enacting policies, when you are thinking of addressing different issues, involve them, have their minds on the table, argue with them, discuss with them, and come to a meeting point where you come up with the plans that actually they feel part of. Through debates, this is very possible.
So you've said you've expanded to various high schools, and I'm sure you've gotten people who have graduated and gone to levels that I'm sure they're saying they would want to vie for political seats
yes.
And all that.
Mm-hmm.
What does, if a student is involving him or herself in such a program or in debate, what are some of the changes that you notice in that student, like in terms of, if it's oratory, confidence? Do you notice some of these things? Do they get what's their outcome even as they come out of the program or out of high school? Mm-hmm. Do you notice any changes that?
A lot of changes can be seen because, when someone is allowed to do research on a topic, then you are given an opportunity to present it to people. And whenever you are debating your two teams, you are here to convince over 600 people watching you in that hall, and other people maybe who might be watching you later on through social media, because we run our debates on social media and on radio. When you are here and you are convincing these people, you have to do your best. One thing that I know very, very clearly is before you get into leadership, you must be inspired. And the question is, what inspired you to join politics? What inspired you to be a CEO of a given company? What inspired you to get where you are today, right? So the challenge and today we face in this country, and if you just allow me to say, we have very clueless leaders, especially in the political field. People probably have just risen to those positions because they know the party leaders, who most of the time are their tribal kingpins. I am there because I know someone from ODM. I'm there because I know someone from Jubilee. I'm not really there because I was inspired by something that happened in my community. So for us, we want to reverse this thinking. We want people to be sure that I've tried other means that by the time you are getting into a political office, actually you looked at it and you've made yourself believe that when I become a member of parliament, when I become a governor, when I become a senator, a women rep, or a president, it is because I've been inspired by the following. I've been passionate about young girls in my community. I've been passionate about widows in my community. I've been passionate about climate change. I've been passionate about music. And I want to rise to this position to keep fighting for what I believe in, not just rising because of nothing. And I see that very possible in these students because our program, we've also been lucky enough sometimes to be allowed to visit schools to witness how students do elections in high schools. Because remember, quite a number of schools nowadays allow students to present their manifestos to students. Then they are given like 1 week to campaign from class to class to class. At that point, they start knowing what corruption looks like. Because if I share with you one that is very interesting of a school that I know, a certain young girl told me that she became the school president by just bribing the class 4s. Aliwabaya kila mtu sweets, just buying them these tam-tams, and all of them voted because class 4s were the majority in the school. You see, already we start knowing that, okay, this is how it plays out. Then another one atakwambia, we tried our best. I went class to class. I told students, I gave students my promises. They did not vote in for me because I did not have the looks. Or they did not vote in for me because I could not speak well. So they're already learning, okay, fine, this is how politics works. This is how you can convince people, which is very important. And I do tell myself how I wish I had this kind of skills when I was young. By now we could be speaking a very different thing altogether, even as a country. Most of the people in my generation, if we had this kind of program, because Kenya has really matured, there are so many people coming into this space of promoting healthy conversations and challenging students to study more about themselves, to try to understand where you come from, to try to understand what your culture is, to understand even some of what your tribe is, because I don't really think it is wrong to be, knowing your tribe and appreciating where you come from is very important. Negative ethnicity is the problem. When I start using my tribe against you, start using your tribe against someone else, that is the problem. But understanding that this is how the Luo people are, this is how the Kikuyu people are, this is how the Luyas are, these are the kind of foods that they like, this is their culture, because Kenya is a diverse place, and that diversity itself is the richness that we want. So understanding it and appreciating is very important. We really try to push this into some of our programs as at now. We've also really moved to a space where we are also picking very important issues. For example, climate change. This is a topic that we are not seeing anyone covering extensively in Kenya, but if you talk to farmers across the country, they'll tell you that things have changed. Even in the olden days, maybe they could start plowing the farm in the month of December or January. Nowadays, it's not that way because rains have become unpredictable, and people would really like to discuss about this. We need to know why these things are happening. We cannot keep leaving certain matters to the cabinet secretaries and the so-called big people in the country, while we know very well they don't go to the ground. The people on the ground are the women, the fathers who are farmers, and the students on the ground. When we share this information with the parents, we also pass this information to students. The best way to do it, again, do it through debates in high schools, do it through debates at that level. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we'll hold it at there. We'll come back and ask you what are the challenges, what are the milestones, and who are the people who you partnered with to make this a success up until where you are. So this is Confessions with Maya. This is the end of part 1. We'll be right back after this break. Rick, you were telling us how climate change is an important topic. So I'd also want to know, what are some of the challenges you've encountered in the process of having these debates, and what are the hurdles that you've conquered along the way?
Okay, number one thing is also just penetrating into schools, because our schools, they know what they want, and they also have their ways of doing things, and there are certain things that they don't really encourage. Gaining trust from Kenyan schools is very difficult, but once you gain it, you are in. But again, losing it is very fast. So the ministry tightened things a bit. There are certain things which are not really allowed in school right now, but we still also have to push. We've been trying to engage the Ministry of Education. Every time before we do anything, we must always seek approval from the different. So if you are in Siaya, you have to visit the office there. If you are in Kisumu, you are in Mombasa, you have to seek all that. But I'm also glad that there are quite a number of organizations also willing to come on board to help us push and make things happen. So over the past 2 years, we've really concentrated on doing debates around climate change. And there's a film called Thank You for the Rain, very interesting. It is all about life of just a very ordinary farmer in Kitui who decided to just allow the world use his life to know what farmers are going through, just to explain what climate change is. So we've really also taken advantage of this film to go to schools where we allow students to watch this film and then create conversations around this film with the main cast. His name is Kisilu, who's actually the main cast of Thank You for the Rain. Always getting very huge support from organizations like DocuBox. Again, we're really working close with the filmmaker. We've done this quite a lot, and I think just a day before the first COVID case was announced, we were in Homa Bay in a school called the Talk Secondary School, somewhere in Kindu Bay. And it's just amazing how you let students do a research on a topic. They come back with a lot of information. So, for example, someone will tell you the government is busy telling us to avoid cutting down trees. But what are the alternative sources of energy in schools? Now, when a student asks you such a question, that is a very sharp mind. Because you tell people don't cut down trees. But again, most schools are still relying on firewood and charcoal for cooking. Where does charcoal come from? Charcoal, it comes from the trees, right? Yeah. So before we tell students, avoid doing this, what is the alternative? Yeah, we've also done this with we've done other debates on governance with the Hans Sedol Foundation and the Siasa Place. They've also been very good, amazing people, because it is not just sometimes about money, the kind of support that you're asking for people. You and I know that when you need to get things done, at times you just have to reach out to people. Reach out to TV47, for example, here. Maybe we could have been really struggling where who else can be willing to give us a platform so that these voices can be heard. And maybe you think someone is not willing to help, but when you make calls and you reach out to people, you get the support that you need. Though the challenge is also still coming back to the issues of the support that we're talking about. Sometimes you need to travel around, and you also just want to to shape the vision of what you're doing. It becomes difficult because sometimes there are sponsors who want to come on board, then change the vision of the program. And now you have to balance between, do I really need to stick to the vision and get the work on the less budget, or should I go for the big money and allow someone else take this, which I think is a very big problem. But anyway, we've been pushing and keeping it happening.
What are the milestones that you look at them and you're like, you know what, I'm glad that I took this journey. I'm glad that I started this, and you have somebody out there thriving, or you did, and there was such a great impact, and I'm sure at the end of the day it satisfies you. There are things that you see out of it, that come out of it and satisfy you. So what are some of the achievements of milestones that you've achieved and you're proud of right now?
Number one, I'm so happy that last year we were awarded the Game Changer of the Year by the League of Young Professionals, recognizing the amount of work that I've been doing in this country, especially working with young people at the school level, and myself, and also got an award as the Game Changer of the Year, which is good. But number two, in terms of impact, I really wanted our program to go to places where programs don't go. You know, there's something interesting about most organizations. Organizations want to work at places where easily accessible, where the infrastructure is well. Nairobi, Kisumu, Eldoret, I mean at the city centers, the town centers. We've been to places like Samburu and Maralal. We've been to places like Lodwar. And sometimes you join there with a lot of excitement, but when you are leaving, the kind of words the students share with you, at times are not really the best of the words. So we were in a school in Lodwar, and before we left, one of the students told us that Salimia wa Kenya. And I felt like there's some kind of marginalization in this country. When a student feels like he's not part of this country, and yet the government has really been pushing and telling us, students are equal, you are all exposed to same opportunities. You have the 20, what the motivational speakers tell these students, you have the 24 hours of the day. A student in Starehe Boys Center, you're just like the student in Otok Secondary School in Homa Bay, or like a student in Mamangina in Mombasa and all that. Sometimes that is not true, because we travel around and we see what is happening. There are people coming from marginalized places. There are people who are struggling to share desks in classes. There are students struggling to have water, even just to bathe once in a day, which some of us take advantage of here in Nairobi.
Others are learning under a tree.
Yes, there are people learning under trees. There are people who really have to know, who are woken up by sounds of bullet. There are kids who are even worried of going to school the next day because of sometimes forced circumcision on women still happening. That is the FGM. And we really need to talk about these things. We have to bring these things to the table. And now when we pick these kind of conversations, and we have the policy makers, when we have governors joining us for the debates, for example, we've had Governor Professor Kivuta Kibwana in one of our debates, and he was really inspirational to these people. When leaders allow themselves to come to the level of of the students, to debate with them, to talk to them and make them believe that, at one point we were like you, and now we are where we are. You give these students self-belief, you raise their self-esteem, and you make them believe that all is possible. So to me, that is a very big achievement that we've made it happen. Yeah.
I'm also getting aspect of community participation in all that, because I'm imagining if you empower these young people to be involved in conversations, even when we have bills or things that require their input, that conversation will still be held, and they'll be involved from a point of information, unlike being told by politicians. One thing I am picking from you is that you're normalizing agree to disagree, yes, which has not been seen in the result, because like we see in the political past that it's either you're in this party or this party. You're not in between, or you do not have two ways. So what's your take? What's your call to people, especially even in our generation, and even people who are older, that it's okay to disagree with somebody and not be enemies?
Yes, we can agree to disagree. That one should really be allowed. You were born at your home, I was born at my place. The fact that we meet even in this show doesn't really mean that I'll agree to everything that you are telling me. You won't agree to everything that I'm sharing, even right now, which is normal. That is normal life with human beings. Even the two people who love each other, the father and the mother in a house, do disagree, and that is very important. Children, even twins, do disagree on certain matters. That is very important to know. Just to share with the government officials who may be watching this show right now, to know that sometimes common citizens will keep on blaming the government for not doing certain things, because you do not create platforms where the common wananchi can have conversations with you. So, for example, we have a lot of community forums. When leaders are invited, they don't show up. Then at what point do you want these people even to know the plans you have for their community? When you're invited by widows in a certain community to listen to their cries, to listen to their requests, you are not showing up. When students are, when you're invited by students, you're a member of parliament or a member of county assembly or a women rep, when you are invited, the best thing to do is just to show up and listen to what these people have to say. Our leaders should stop being the Mr. and Mrs. Know-it-all. They need to know that the people that they're leading have just given, actually just a delegated mandate to represent us, because we cannot all fit in those offices. But others, wananchi know what they want. And that's why we're really promoting this kind of debate, that let us disagree, then find a common point. We disagree, then we come to one point and say, okay, fine, you are coming with this idea, I'm coming with this idea. it must not always be my way or the highway, not your way or the highway, but we can come together and form a new way and move on together as a people.
Okay. So what's your parting shot, and what can you tell the young people out there who would want to be involved in? I know the children right now, most of them are at home, you know, but it must not be only politics. It's the way you said climate change. It could be about cultures. The way you said, you know, not many who may not understand their cultures and all that. So what's your parting shot, or what's your take on the young people in terms of agreeing to disagree and being involved in matters that are affecting them in their daily lives?
Over the past few years, we've really concentrated our debates on drug and substance abuse, one, good governance, talent development, and climate change, environment and climate change. COVID-19 has affected everyone, so let us not use it as an excuse for not doing anything, because it has equalized us. Now it has taken us back to the drawing board. My plea to the young people who are watching right now, let us not make this be an excuse for us to get into drugs. Let us not get into crime. Let us not get into early marriages because of this. Because the world still needs us. If you still believe, like I do, that Kenya deserves better, then please, let us fight together. But above all, also, whenever you think of giving up in this country, because I know so many people are pissed off by the government, people feel let down, people feel not involved, people feel like they're being taken for granted. Remember that this nation has paid bigger sacrifice before. Yes, the freedom fighters, the Dedan Kimathis, the Pio Gama Pintos, the tomboyers who were there before us, the Jomo Kenyattas, the Oginga Odingas, despite on what you believe in, they paid a price for us to have this nation that we have. Let nobody tell you that you cannot make it in this country. Let nobody tell you that this country doesn't belong to you. We are all members of we are all citizens of this country, and we need to do our best. But above all, fellow young people who are watching right now, just know that we have certain things that we can take to our advantage. The world has really changed. The digital system really working for us, digitalization of the world. So today, if things are not working the other way, you can always create your own ways and make things happen. Please, let us take advantage of that and let us make this country what we want it to be. That is all.
Thank you so much, Okoth, and you're doing great work in, you know, involving, and I hope young people out there at home will take in what he had said, that, you know, it's important to be involved in your day-to-day activities happening in your community. That's it for Confessions this week. Be sure to join us next week, same time, same place, with a different guest. Have a blessed evening.